Pascal, could you please explain to us what the Jack Kerouac blues is about?
Jack Kerouac is one of my favorite writers and the founder of the Beat movement in the 1950s. He was born in a desperately poor Franco-American family. His parents were Quebec people who moved south to Massachusetts to find work. So French was his first language. He grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, and he was a misfit his entire life. He was confused about his identity. He was lonely. He was emotionally and financially insecure, and increasingly turned to alcohol, to numb the pain. And so the great irony is that although he was a counterculture star, at the same time he was a lonely, insecure Catholic boy. He was dependent on his mother, deeply religious, and he was haunted by the early death of his older brother, Gerard. And in spite of all that, he sang like an angel, and that's why I find him so moving. So this song is a tribute to Jack Kerouac, and I'm trying to capture that rhythm and blues and jazz feeling of the 1950s, a jazz bar with the hipsters rebelling against the dominant culture, which was, Republican America, Eisenhower America, and yet haunted. David and the band captured that atmosphere beautifully, and he'll explain how he worked his magic, I'm sure. That's a bit of background.
David, can you play us some of
Yeah,
the
of
song?
course. All
Cool.
right, well, here we go. Here's we'll do like a verse and a chorus.
Knocked down Milltown, Lowell, Mass. Beat up a Buick and a tank of gas. Sloppy shoes, sloppy pants. A wet cigarette and a wet romance. Blood and rain is all my love in vain. The land's in Frisco, cold and damp. Kerouac smoking by the loading ramp. Saintless in a Bengal lights. Bourbon Buddha acolytes. Blood and rain is all my love in vain. Blood and rain. Sing a sweet refrain in the misty rain. Weather vane. Blood and rain.
Now, first of all, I'm so glad we're talking about this track today because, Pascal is a wonderful harmonicaist.
Whoa.
I mean, right? What the hell do you want, man? This guy can play the harp. Oh, sweetness. And
I
so
love it, man. I love the harp.
And so, like, when you said that today, I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta get more of Pascal's harp in there, man.
Yeah.
Because you can play, man. You play it for real.
R&B band, and I
Okay.
was 18 years old, man, and kicking around Toronto playing and just singing these songs. It's R&B is in my
Well, it sounds fantastic.
soul.
So
Yeah.
we've got to get more of that on future
Done.
albums because I kind of like on one of your sketches you sent me the other day.
Yeah.
I heard it and I'm just like, oh yeah, right. Like again, we're trying to take old and bring it into new. And so, oh, here, you know what? I'll continue sharing my screen so it'll all be in context here. So, like the Hammond B3 organ, okay? This is a very, very famous organ that's been around forever. looks like this, and sounds great. Now that's me and my terrible organ playing. However, I am getting, the tone going, and getting some of the vibrato and some of the distortion, and and once you set it up that way and you've got a really good player like Davide with the touch. Now that doesn't sound like much. It just sounds like, all right, he's just tooting around. Once you put it in the context of the vocals and the rhythm.
San Frisco, cold and damp.
Ooh, great timing.
Like that is just it. And so, like, if we examine what he's doing here.
San Frisco, cold and damp.
Like the combination of the short versus the long, and look at how short this is compared to this. Like, it makes a difference. This is what gives an organ player the feel that they have. Oh, the like, just oof, the flicking, right? And Davide, he's got the feel. Now, if I were to criticize him, which I won't, but if I were to, I would have said, just make this a little bit louder. And that's the beauty of what we do here, is that we've got this kind of control. Just wanted that one a little bit louder. Oh. Anyway, he's got the touch. He's really got the touch.
What David is pointing out also aligns with the theme of the song. So Kerouac is this fragmented soul. He sings like an angel, but he's got this pain inside of him, and he's always on pins and needles, as we say. He's anxious. Who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? And who am I? Am I a Catholic boy close to my mother? Am I this beat poet god? I'm hanging out with these crazies. And that anxiety is expressed in the whole arrangement, but especially in Davide's playing, and Luca's guitar also, that counterpoint expresses the anxiety. So Blood and Rain is the subtitle of the song, and that's Kerouac. He's Blood and Rain. So the rain, the 1950s, the mystery, the cold Pacific current, and the mist coming up into San Francisco streets, and yet blood, the blood of Christ, the blood of being a Catholic boy, so all of this creates this atmosphere. I sensed that we were in a jazz club in 1959 in San Francisco, with the fog, filling the streets, in the early morning. That's how I feel.
And it's funny enough, because I experiment a lot with tone, and so, for example, going back to this organ, this was the original organ tone, which was very nice, but it didn't have the same attitude. So tone, for anybody that's a music producer, tone is everything. So yeah, the conversation between Pascal and I was, I wanted to feel like we're in a beatnik bar, and it's smoky, and people are having their drinks, and there's a poetry reading going on in the center. And so we talked about this idea. So this is why I chose not to have piano, right? Because there was quite a bit of like, a lot of times in some of these clubs, there would be just a Hammond B3 organ, and it would just be there, and the organ was really popular in between the 50s and right up into the 70s. There was a lot of jazz and lounge acts where there was no piano player. It was just organ, bass, guitar, drums. And then maybe a vocalist or whatever, if it was vocal jazz. So this is why the organ felt really appropriate for this song. But we also experimented with the tone of Pascal's voice. So, he did a couple of different variations of vocals. We chose what we thought was great. And then I now I say this in the context of we removed this in the end, but we
Yeah, yeah.
tried, at least
Okay.
tried. I tried to put some distortion on
Mhm.
his voice, and the idea being that you're holding the mic really really close, and you get a bit of distortion going on, and we experimented with that in again with this idea of the trying to get that feeling, but in the end we didn't like it. Neither of us liked it. And we just felt like, and so this is the point though. We try, we try, we try. We
Yeah.
always try. We experiment with lots of different tone. And then in the end, if making the mood of the lounge, environment interferes with the song, then it's not a good idea. And in
Yeah.
the end, musically, everything has to feel right. And Pascal is a vocal artist as well as it's singer songwriter, right? So we can't forget the singing part. And so we experimented, and the experiment didn't work. But I think anyone will tell you, like, I don't care if you're inventing a new mousetrap, which they say you can't make a better one, but if you're inventing a mousetrap, if you're writing computer code, if you're trying to make an album, failure is the most important teacher of all, because you will learn from trying and failing.
Yep.
Not that the distortion on his voice was a failure, it just didn't work. So it just, I mean, I guess the attempt was a failure,
Well,
but
but we learned something and we may use it on another song. And that's
there you go.
building on David's point. You continually run small experiments. This worked, that didn't work, but it could work here. So we file that away. And that's part of the play. And part of one of the joy of this project for me, one of the joys is just working with these gifted players and trying stuff, and some work, some doesn't work. We decide what we like, we file away what didn't work this time, but next time it will. And that's part of that's music, right?